I just couldn't be bothered with consumer grades for the scanners that required you to spray items you want to scan just because they were dark or a bit shiny. So the question is whether the more advanced laser scanning is finally at an effortless level, like for example for the printing keys today, or if it's still a hassle. Is 3D scanning actually useful in maker's daily life, or does all the prep work and using the scanner still kill the vibe? My goal today is to give you the most realistic expectations when getting into 3D scanning, the good, the bad, and especially the annoying stuff. First of all, my opinion about getting into 3D scanning is based on testing the Revopoint MetroY Pro. It is definitely not a cheap scanner, but its price is nowhere near that of high-end scanners or especially industrial ones. All thoughts and opinions are my own, and Revopoint had no say in anything in this video. With all that out of the way, when you unpack the MetroY Pro, it greets you with so much stuff that you have no clue what most of it does. At first it is daunting, so manual and official Revopoint videos are your best friends when starting out. Definitely expect a learning curve. I also got the maker block kit because I thought something like this should make 3D scanning much easier as a beginner. It would be a very nice set, but when magnets are glued incorrectly, some pieces don't stick together, or magnets even fall out. It is quite hard to justify the asking price, especially if you have a 3D printer and can make them yourself. With laser scanners in this price segment, we need those stickers or blocks so that the scanner can accurately determine its position in space. They will be the main focus when preparing for scans. At first I thought it would be a deal breaker for me, but I quickly realized that the markers don't even need to be on the items we scan. This is where I found some insane setups online. Some solutions are just wild, and it's completely up to you how creative you want to get to make the most of it. This MetroY Pro scanner needs at least 5 markers in the frame. Without enough markers, we will lose positional tracking. Not a big deal, as it will quickly regain tracking when going back to an area with enough markers. But for a smooth and enjoyable experience, we always want to place enough markers to avoid tracking loss. My only complaint related to the stickers and blocks is that the software doesn't do a great job of removing them from your scans. You would think it would work something like image editing software, where it is aware of surrounding texture and applies similar details to fill the holes. But it doesn't, it just leaves quite ugly looking blobs. This doesn't really affect scans functionally, but you have to be aware of it and avoid placing stickers near important features. When we're prepared and it comes to actual scanning, there are 2 ways to do it, wired or wireless. The wired method wouldn't be that annoying if it didn't need the extra power brick. But you do, so unless you're making a very long scan or a lot of scans, you'll naturally lean towards the much more effortless wireless connection and power the scanner from the battery pack inside the stick. The MetroY Pro connects directly to your PC via Wi-Fi. All laptops have it, but not all desktops do. In my case, I did all my scans on a desktop with an integrated Wi-Fi module. This means I can use the internet via LAN cable while connected to the scanner. If you are on a laptop and rely solely on Wi-Fi, you won't be able to scan and browse online at the same time. So when starting up and learning how stuff works, the wired connection would probably be the better option. However, when it comes to the whole wireless setup, it feels simple and convenient enough. I haven't found it neither to be game-changing, neither bad. It just does the job without annoying you in any way. We add a phone, cast our PC's desktop to it, and look at the screen while scanning. Meanwhile, buttons on the scanner let us easily start and pause the scan to get a better look at it on our PC. When it comes to 3D scanning itself, I will lie to you, there will be things to learn if you want to perfect your scans. But you can get very decent scans even if you are clueless, as I was in the beginning. Looking at all this now with more experience, for most scans you will be just adjusting the scan detail level and selecting the object type. The more advanced settings you will learn with time. I was afraid that scanning wirelessly would feel laggy and choppy, but apart from occasional small stutters and one major lag spike, scanning felt responsive and I didn't find it annoying or experience ruining in any way. For me, it is actually the opposite. It is the most satisfying part of the entire scanning process. You go round and round until the main part turns from yellow to blue-green color, which means there is enough data for the selected scan quality level. The higher the quality, the longer the scan will take, and vice versa. If you like games like Power Wars Simulator, hey, 3D scanning might be your new hobby. I had no problem scanning black objects that were even semi-glossy, but you aren't scanning very shiny or transparent ones. If you can clearly see laser lines on the object, neither can scanner determine its shape. Scanning spray or other solutions that prevent light from bouncing off or refracting through the item will be necessary for those objects. I had a project I wanted to finish and it was a tricky one, a heatsink with a black, shiny and transparent surfaces. The polished copper top was an instant no-go, so I simply spread some thermal paste on it. Surprisingly, scanning it from the top and then from the bottom gave very usable results. By cutting away unnecessary parts and manually selecting 3 common points in both scans, the software combines them into a single complete scan. Then we apply some post-processing. At these 2 stages, we're basically cleaning up the scan and reducing unnecessary details so that the final mesh is more manageable if needed. With all of this done, we have a model that perfectly represents the dimensions despite looking rough. It is all about functionality, not looks. Plus, I scanned translucent surfaces, so it is surprising it worked at all. It still has to be manually aligned in CAD, as there is no way to do that in Revopoint MetroY software. But once that's done, modeling becomes much more convenient because you don't have to constantly double check whenever you modeled non-essential features to save on modeling time that might interfere later. Don't ask how I know. In the past, I wanted to finish this lighting project, but I couldn't because plastics creep too much under constant load and repeated heat cycling. To fix that, I designed a simple stainless steel clamp, and it was laser cut by today's video sponsor, PCBWay. Laser cutting is one of the most cost-effective manufacturing methods, and it will keep the tension on the LED against the heatsink without creeping and burning it out. If you need professionally manufactured parts for your projects, make sure to check the variety of services PCBWay has to offer through the link in the video description. I'm not going to lie, I was quite impressed with this automatic merge feature and how well it worked. Which gave me an idea. What about scanning a large object that doesn't require much detail overall, but has certain areas that have to be detailed? To do that, I made 4 scans of a motor base, 2 quick scans from the top and bottom at a lower detail level, and then 2 detailed scans of a section with all the connection ports. The takeaway from working with semi-gloss black motor surface was that the general object type was the wrong choice. Switching to the shiny object type helped a lot, but the best results came from using the black object type. I guess the logic here is that the motor surface is much more black when it is shiny. It is also a good lesson to not fully commit to a scan immediately, but to try different object types first and see what works best. However, the main goal of getting more detail by merging a lower quality full scan with a higher quality scan of a specific section was a success. As you can see, comparing 0.15 and 0.5mm scans, the difference in detail is huge. There will definitely be situations where merging scans of different quality levels is the ideal way to reduce scanning and processing times. Speaking of processing, my system is fairly mid-range, but it has 64 gigs of RAM, which is currently priced like gold these days because of all this AI stuff. I would say that if the scans are not too large or detailed, the processing and editing times are reasonable. Of course, if you try to scan a large object at the highest quality level, expect very long processing times. On my setup, the software could definitely be better optimized, as it never utilized more than 32 gigs of RAM and showed low CPU and GPU utilization during processing. But when it comes to things that annoyed me the most, the fixed and non-configurable view controls take the cake. I genuinely couldn't stand them. With a regular mouse, the scroll wheel is inverted compared to what I'm used to, with no option to change it. Rotating scan also feels awkward, as if I'm controlling the mouse with chopsticks. For me, this completely killed my workflow, as I spent most of the time fighting the controls. These things are extremely personal and depend on what you're used to, but not having different view control presets, like for example Fusion 360 does, makes an otherwise good experience feel unnecessarily frustrating. You will spend a lot of time post-processing and cleaning scans, especially when learning, so not having an interface that users can configure to their needs can make or break an otherwise good product and experience it offers. The only other inconvenience was the need to recalibrate the scanner, as its temperature during a scan shouldn't differ too much from the temperature at which it was calibrated. Luckily, calibration is fast and easy, but this also means you should let the scanner warm up first, then calibrate it. And for the future scans, you should wait until it reaches its operating temperature. This can be annoying, especially when running on battery power, which only lasts for maybe 3 to 5 hours size high detail scans. I also tried the more traditional scanning that MetroY Pro additionally has, which requires no markers. This is mainly for objects with very great detail, but it honestly felt like it was the reason why I was avoiding 3D scanning in the first place. Don't get me wrong, the detail levels on small feature-rich projects are great, but scanning them properly requires so much more skill, time and patience. It makes the laser scanning with markers look completely effortless. But aside from all these, I found the overall experience as a complete beginner in laser 3D scanning to be better and more convenient than I originally expected. There is some preparation involved with those tracking markers, but there are clever ways to greatly reduce that needed effort, especially for smaller items. The scanning itself is satisfying, and the scan detail is more than sufficient, at least for my needs when designing and making things. I have nothing to compare my overall experience with MetroY Pro to, but if Revopoint implements proper view control customization in its software, I, as a designer and maker, would genuinely be fully satisfied with this 3D scanning experience and what it brings to the table. What is your experience with Revopoint scanners and 3D scanning in general? As I'm new to the space, it would be very interesting to hear your opinions. Huge thanks to all the people who support my work on YouTube and Patreon. Well, that's all from me, and we'll see you next time.